Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, July the 21st. Probably the biggest weather story going forward over the next 5 or 10 days or so will be the building heat out across the center part of the nation. High pressure ridging looks like it'll kind of edge to the west over the next few days and park itself over the center part of the nation, maybe the interior western part of the nation, again going forward maybe 5 or 10 days out, and this will lead to some very high temperatures, it looks like, over the next perhaps couple of weeks across the central plains, maybe the northern plains, all the way down to the southern plains, and even across portions of the interior western part of the nation. Looks like the next few days, beautiful weather in the northeast, in the mid-Atlantic region, comfortably warm conditions Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday with low humidity values. We had one cold frontal system push through the mid-Atlantic region on Sunday night, and there'll be a secondary cold front coming through tonight, all leading to a great first half of the weekend. The heat and humidity certainly make a return by the end of the week and probably going into the upcoming weekend in the northeastern part of the nation. Let's take a quick look at the tropics. Still relatively quiet here. Now we're into the second half of the month of July. There is one system out here over the Atlantic Ocean. We'll continue to monitor it over the next few days. Probably not going to reach named tropical storm status, but we'll keep an eye on it as it edges northwest towards the Caribbean Sea. Been relatively quiet this season so far, not only in the Atlantic Basin, but really pretty much throughout the northern hemisphere. However, we're about to near the month of August. Certainly from a climatological point of view, activity tends to ramp up during the month of August. And in addition to that climatology point of view, we have the MJO, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, which we often refer to here at ArcfieldWeather.com. It moves to a more favorable position by the early, perhaps the middle part of the month of August for tropical activity in the Atlantic Basin. So we'll probably see a ramping up of activity once we flip the calendar from July to August. But in the meantime, we'll continue to monitor the progress of that particular wave over the tropical Atlantic. Well, let's take a look at last night's 0Z run of the GFS model here. And this is the 10-day forecast map. This is all the precipitation in the form of rain in this particular time period over the next 10 days. A few areas I want to point out. First of all, any of this rainfall here over the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. does not happen over the next few days. Again, a very comfortably warm and dry period for the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. during the first half of this week. This is certainly days 4 or 5 or beyond. And similarly, out here in the northern plains, much of this rainfall will actually fall over the next few days. Then it tends to become drier. Notice here, out over the central and southern plains, relatively dry period starting to shape up here. Again, this is over the next 10 days. Not much rainfall from Texas north into the central plains. Again, this is the area to watch for building heat and ultimately dry conditions here. Dry out across the western part of the nation, but still some monsoonal flow of air. And you can kind of see the precipitation associated with that moist Pacific Ocean air moving into the Four Corners region. A lot of rainfall down across the higher elevations of western Mexico, and some rainfall from Colorado to New Mexico and Arizona, even some into Utah with that monsoonal flow of air. Decent amount of precipitation over the next 10 days along the Gulf Coast, really from Florida to southeastern Texas, all associated with some tropical moisture. And again, we'll continue to monitor a tropical wave over the tropical Atlantic Ocean. Well, let's take a look at the ensemble run of the GFS. And what we're looking at here are rolling 5-day averages in this particular set of maps here. We're looking at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies. Again, averaged over a 5-day period. And as we highlighted at the front end of this video, really the big story looks like the building heat over the central part of the nation over the next 5 or 10 days or so. This is the current 5-day period, well above normal temperatures over some of the central and northern plains and the upper part of the Midwest, colder than normal on average over the next 5 days across California. Again, we've had a lot of colder than normal air masses move into the western U.S. from the eastern Pacific Ocean over the last few months, and that continues here in the middle part of July. Now, let's move forward here in time. This is days 2 to 6, and then 3 to 7 going out. You can see this heat wave building out over the central and northern plains, extending all the way into the Great Lakes. By the time we get to the last week of the month of July, this is now running from July 25th to July 30th. Still cooler than normal out across the western part of the nation, by the way, from Washington, Oregon, all the way down to California. Here, days 6 to 10. We keep going out in time here. Here at the end of the month of July into early August. And again, that building heat wave looks like it's finally going to happen across the central, maybe the northern plains, and even the front range, the eastern edge of the Rocky Mountain states here going into the month of August. Here we go out a little bit farther in time. Not bad when you see a ridge setting up here, and we'll see that in a moment here with the 500 millibar height anomaly maps. When you have a ridge building up in this part of the nation, usually it's not bad temperature-wise across the northeastern part of the nation. Indeed, this is suggesting nearly normal temperatures as we begin the month of August, and it probably can extend all the way down to the mid-Atlantic region as well. Nearly normal conditions in this kind of a pattern at the end of July into early August. Now let's walk through the same period here, looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly forecast maps. Again, averaged out over rolling 5-day periods. Here's that ridge centered over the next 5 days over the Great Lakes. Well, we'll see kind of what we call retrograde kind of build back to the west here as we go towards the end of July. You can envision high pressure ridge here situated right here over, let's say, northern Texas, eastern Colorado, and again you have that northwest flow there, probably relatively normal temperatures across New England in this kind of a pattern. And this is kind of a pattern here when you get this ridge building up over this part of the nation, the south central states, where they are very, very hot and dry. And you, meanwhile, in the northwest flow, you can certainly get some what we call mesoscale convective complexes or even derechos forming in this part of this overall pattern. Something we'll watch for as we get through the latter stage of July into early August. Go a little bit farther in time, and here you go. You got that ridge sitting out here over the Four Corners region. Expect hot and relatively dry conditions up across the plains and into the eastern part of the Rocky Mountain states. Meanwhile, relatively normal conditions, and we'll have to watch for those possible mesoscale convective complexes moving into the northeastern part of the nation in this kind of a weather pattern. Well, let's now look at the surface forecast maps, again using the 0Z run of the GFS. Those previous maps were from the ensemble version of the GFS. This is the conventional or operational version. Beautiful Canadian high pressure system here. This time of the year when you see a nice strong high over southeastern Canada, that spells some great weather for New England, much of the mid-Atlantic region, and indeed we have a nice northerly flow of air, comfortable conditions, and a secondary cold front actually comes through late today into tonight, right in here. So it actually may get even a little bit better on Tuesday in terms of temperatures and humidity levels in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and still going into the day on Tuesday. This nice high pressure system is controlling the weather over the northeastern part of the nation. Again, we talked about the next few days producing that rainfall that we saw on that 10-day forecast map here over the northern plains. A lot of precipitation out here over the next few days. Then we'll go forward in time. And notice this high originated in Canada. By the time we get to the middle of the week, this is Wednesday now, it shifts off the east coast. That opens the door for some hot and humid air to move back into the northeastern part of the nation in that Thursday and Friday time period on the backside of this high pressure area. Meanwhile, you still have a decent amount of rainfall over the Dakotas here by midweek, and then we go into the latter part of the weekend. By this time on Thursday, back into the soup in the mid-Atlantic region. Hot and humid conditions return. D.C., Philadelphia, New York City for Thursday and Friday, building heat out across the central part of the nation. We do have some tropical moisture here across the Gulf states. And again, that particular area gets a decent amount of rainfall from Florida to southeastern Texas over the next 5 or 10 days or so. And here we go into the late week here, and again, high pressure now over that familiar Bermuda High location here in the western Atlantic Ocean, pumping some hot and humid air from the southeastern states all the way into the middle Atlantic, northeast U.S. Go forward in time here, and this is that time period where we start to see that high pressure ridge really dominating the scene aloft over the south central U.S., over the Four Corners region. And again, I pointed out that in this kind of a pattern, you can get waves of thunderstorms moving in that northwesterly flow from the Great Lakes into the northeast U.S. This is now the second half of the upcoming weekend. I'll have to watch these systems because any one of these can be what we call mesoscale convective complexes or even long-lasting lines of thunderstorms known as derechos in this kind of a pattern. At the same time, it's hot out there across the center part of the nation. Here's another kind of a consolidated area of what looks like thunderstorms here early next week. And again, we'll have to watch for that. And here we go all the way out into the middle part of next week. Yet another system we'll watch for crossing the Great Lakes into the northeast U.S. Hot conditions out here over the center part of the nation and the eastern side of the Rocky Mountain states. So quite a change in the pattern over the next 5 or 10 days or so for the center part of the nation with a real buildup of heat, and it should ultimately become a drier pattern as well over the center part of the nation and the eastern part of the Rocky Mountain states. Meanwhile, beautiful weather for the next few days, mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Orion.